All right, welcome back. We got our weekly stock market update, and we've got a red week on our hands here. We're looking at the heat map for the stock market indexes, and we've got the S&P down over 1% and the NASDAQ also down over 1%. Gold is on a huge move. All commodities are moving very, very well this week. You've got Bitcoin down large this week. The bond market is green. And let's take a look at some individual stock names. Pretty red here. Some of the outliers are going to be Google, Walmart, Home Depot. Those are all pretty green. And then you've got Nvidia, big loser, down 5%. Amazon also down 5%. And just pretty red across the board here. And then we've got a bloodbath on our hands here for the crypto markets. So you got Ethereum down 12%, as well as Bitcoin, and every coin you can think of here. Pretty harsh moves here. So let's go ahead and take a look at some individual names, and as we're going through, we'll go over some of the news stories this week. Real quick, I wanted to look at some of the financials because we do have some banking earnings that came out this week, and we're also getting some potential problems in the regional banks and then also the private credit markets. So I'm going to take the weekend to do a deep dive on that, but we are starting to see some problems arise. But most likely those are going to be siloed into individual companies. The big banks like Bank of America, JP Morgan, looks like American Express, the big banks had great earnings and their loans look fine, but you have some of these smaller banks potentially made a couple bad deals that are going south. So that'll most likely, hopefully, knock on wood, be contained, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't think this is a Silicon Valley 2.0 on our hands here, but we'll have to wait and see. So let's take a look at some charts here, and we're going to look at some of these commodities. Palladium just skyrocketing here, just super interesting. Some of these commodities are just going berserker. Palladium's been chopping around here for years and just out of nowhere shoots up. Same thing here with silver on a huge move here over 50. I want to zoom out because I believe silver hit 50 back in 2010. So silver's wild because it'll make these crazy moves and then it'll just give up all the gains. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here for silver. I've heard for, I feel like 5 years that there's going to be some huge silver squeeze. And so far, I mean, this looks like a squeeze in my opinion, but there hasn't been the huge squeeze that people were talking about. But this is a great move for silver. And gold, just unbelievable. Just last week we hit 4,000 and we almost hit 4,400 bucks. So gold is up, let's see here, 6% this week, and if it didn't pull back today, would have been up, 7-8%. So huge move here for gold. Gold is now a $30 trillion asset. $30 trillion. That is a lot. So pretty unbelievable move here for gold. Just a ton of volume, ton of buying, most likely central banks. And there we go, market closed. Another commodity to look at, oil, tanking here. So this is good for inflation, but some of these other metals maybe not be the best for inflation. So just pretty interesting moves that we're seeing in the commodities. They're really volatile right now, making a ton of moves. And let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin here. Very steep drop. Not looking so pretty here for Bitcoin. We will see where the next landing zone is. If we zoom out here, it doesn't look too bad once you zoom out. But we'll have to wait and see here for Bitcoin. If we get meaningfully below 100K, that'll be concerning. But as of right now, wouldn't surprise me if we can stabilize around here and then make our move back up and kind of regain our footing. If we don't, things will not be looking so hot. But Bitcoin tends to really give out max pain before it makes its next move up, just like it did right here. Bleeding out, bleeding out, bleeding out. You think right here we're going back down to 50K, and the next thing you know, we're back up over 100K. So that's the That's the crypto world for you. And same thing here for Ethereum. Again, you zoom out, it doesn't look that bad once we really zoom out, because again, we've been on a huge tear here. So to go from 1300 to 4700 and then come back to 3700, when you zoom in it looks really bad, but when you zoom out, this doesn't look too bad. But we did drop below this $4,000 level, which is super important. If we come up and keep getting rejected by this, that's not going to be good for Ethereum and all the altcoins in general. Let's see here. Let's look at the indexes. Russell 2000 pulling back a little bit. We did have some move on the interest rates. So Russell 2000 have a lot of regional banks in it. So that is where you saw the big red moves on the Russell 2000, is because of those regional banks pulling it down. S&P 500, let's zoom in here. So again, you know, there's been a lot of volatility and a lot of turmoil in the markets, but we're just right next to all-time highs. So we haven't seen anything yet. And to me, that is the most concerning part here. You're hearing a lot of people calling for the bubble is bursting. We have topped out. To me, this does not look like a top at all. This is a small pullback. And again, we keep chopping up and down, up and down, up and down. But some of the individual names look a lot worse than the indexes, obviously. NASDAQ, similar story here. I mean, look at this. These are just big drop, big swing up, big drop, big swing. We're just kangarooing around here, just pogo sticking up and down, not really going anywhere. We're still, you know, one good day away from another all-time high, but people are acting like the world is ending. And anytime you hear a bad news story, everyone's calling for the next 2008, the next housing crisis, the next banking crisis, all those things. But it is concerning to see gold move at this pace. So honestly, I think we want gold to cool off and then some of that money to flow into the equity market. Volatility. Whoa, we got a huge crush in volatility. We hit the green zone. So when the VIX is high, it is time to buy. I have been nibbling this week, but again, since the market is at all-time highs, I've been nibbling on some of the high quality names out there, but I haven't been going crazy because we're still near all-time highs in the market, and it would not shock me if the market does get a 5-10% pullback. That is totally healthy. We could still be in a nice long-term bull market here. Let's see here. What would a 5% pullback look like? Yeah, something like this, a little 5% pullback, totally healthy. We got almost halfway there last Friday. So again, if we do see that 5% pullback, I want to have some more dry powder. So I've just been nibbling here. I'm already mostly allocated. And I don't want to take a ton of risk going into the end of the year. We've already had a great year this year. I don't want to load the boat here at the top and then we get a 5, maybe 10% pullback and then give away a lot of gains for the year. So we will see where the market goes from here. But volatility, big spike here. We've been coiling up for a little bit after this long drawdown in the volatility. And this is a nice spike. And we've also got a nice pullback here on the VIX. So there's a lot of geopolitical news coming around. You've got all the tariff stuff going on again. Gold going through the roof. You've got bad loans out there. Banks doing good. Some banks not doing so good. So this is showing that there is some volatility in the market, and it's good. Volatility brings opportunity. So just remember, VIX is high, it's time to buy. VIX is low, it's time to go. Again, that doesn't mean sell your stocks, but you want to be more aggressive on purchases when we get up into this green box, and we just barely touched it. Again, this is the tariff VIX pump. We're nowhere near that. So we'll see if we shoot back up or if this just collapses back down and things are all good to go from there. Interest rates, I did say we got to move in the interest rates. The 10-year yield did drop below 4%, so that is good to see. Let's zoom out a little bit here. So hopefully this continues to come down like we've talked about. Again, the market needs volatility and there needs to be uncertainty for people to come in and buy bonds, and that's what we've had these last couple of weeks. So people are saying, you know what, stock market all-time high, banks are blowing up, let's go buy some bonds to be safe. And that is what is pushing down the interest rates. And we will see when the Fed has their meeting what they do next. All right, let's see who else we want to talk about. Amazon. So this is a stock I've been buying up. Some more Amazon here. I can't believe this name is flat on the year, flat to down. This is just a phenomenal business. I'll have to do a separate video on Amazon, and they do have their earnings coming up. But I still think this is a quality company, and I don't mind buying here. And if we continue to drop because the whole market comes down, Amazon's not going anywhere. They're still making $150+ billion per quarter, and they will most likely be the first company to achieve $1 trillion in revenue for a full year. So that is what I'm banking on. This is a high quality business, and if the market's freaking out over tariffs, over gold, people are still buying Amazon Prime, people are still using AWS, I will buy this stock as it keeps dropping. Let's take a look. Google did hit an all-time high this week. So congratulations to Google. That is a wonderful business as well. NVIDIA, pulling back here. I don't think there's a whole lot of news this week on NVIDIA, but we will see where it goes from here. They do have earnings. They are one of the last companies to report earnings, but the banks kick it off. Next week we've got Tesla. We've got Netflix. Who else do we have next week? Intel, I think that's going to be it. So we're starting some earnings. Tesla surprisingly holding up pretty well here. I would have thought that Tesla would be getting hit. Again, we're seeing a lot of the names that have run quite a bit and have some speculation in them pull back, but Tesla holding up like a champ here, and they have earnings next week, so we'll see what they have in store after earnings. Any other names? Costco's been volatile this week. It gapped up, then gapped down, then gapped up, gapped down. So we'll see where it goes from here. Again, I'm a buyer of Costco if we can drop below $900. But they don't have earnings for a long time. They had earnings recently. Any other names? Talk about Apple looking solid here, pulling back up today. Meta not doing anything here. Chopping sideways. AMD also chopping sideways. ASML had their earnings as well as Taiwan Semi, and Taiwan Semi crushed their earnings. They, let's take a look at the numbers here, $32 billion, and I believe they said half of their revenue was from the high computing GPUs. So again, that is good for the whole AI story. So this is definitely, things are bubble-ish, but these companies are so good at producing revenue. Until that just falls off a cliff, I don't think we can see the bubble burst. I see a lot of people comparing right now to 2000. The difference between 2000 and now is the companies that are making these deals are companies like Microsoft and Amazon. They're not pets.com, who has zero revenue and is taking out a bunch of debt. These are phenomenal businesses like NVIDIA and Google. So these companies can afford to spend money and to take some risk. Those companies back then had no revenue and were taking on tremendous leverage, and eventually that doesn't end well. Okay, I don't think there's a whole lot else to talk about here as far as individual names, but just closing thoughts here. We are at a tricky time in the market with the volatility and just being at near the all-time highs. Again, be ready for a 5 to 10% pullback at any time, but I don't think this is the end. I'm not panic selling anything. I'm just buying high quality businesses when we get small dips, and if we get larger dips, I'll become more aggressive. And again, I'm watching the VIX today down 17% and closing on the lows. That bodes well for things to resume to the upside in the next coming weeks. So things can look really dark and scary. This week was a kind of a test your conviction week. Next week, we could get the government to get back together, and we could get more good earnings from some quality companies like Netflix and Tesla. These could be huge catalysts to the upside. We have the Fed meeting coming. Rates are most likely going to continue to drop. You've got oil dropping. That's good for the consumer. That's good for businesses. That's good for inflation. And that's good for interest rates to keep coming down, which will take pressure off of the banking system, which is experiencing a little bit of stress. But the big banks are doing just fine. So, you could turn on the news and see a lot of bad things, but next week we could turn on the news and see a lot of great things, and the market is pushing new highs again. And we're back to where we were 2 weeks ago, where everything's invincible and we keep going. So the market is funny that way. You have to have conviction in what you own, and be prepared to buy if you do get an opportunity and not get shaken out. So this is not the time to be doubling down on some speculative names. If I were to be buying stocks, I'd be buying the high quality businesses, because again, at any moment, we could get a 5 to 10% pullback. So that is my little speech for the day. So that's all I got for you guys for this week. Have a great weekend, and we will get back to it next week with some good earnings. All right, everybody. Peace out.